Yeah, and Winter Wyvern is going to be the ban off from Team Secret, and that's an FNG hero if there's ever FNG heroes. Like we saw, Earthshaker and Winter Wyvern is often the pickup for them.
Clockwork banned away by Virtus.Pro. I mean, just a kind of standard off lane that's very good versus Earthshaker. And still waiting on Team Secrets. The Gyrocopter actually going to be banned away. He's been losing some popularity lately. He's been dropping a little bit in the pick priority. Why do you guys think that is?
The Gyrocopter?
Yes, the Gyrocopter.
One of the reasons was his win rate was actually not that high.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times he was drafted as a counter. By counter, I mean like soft counter to PL, even though people thought he was a hard counter, and
Sure.
PL actually won that matchup a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Phantom Lancer kind of rising up, Gyrocopter not necessarily counter, and I don't know. I think people like more flexibility in that role, although I think Gyrocopter is just super good all around. I'm actually surprised that he hasn't been picked up as much.
I agree with Ben, though. I think that the Phantom Lancer, it's just a really stable pick overall, and I think that the Gyrocopter, it was kind of that all-around hero, but it doesn't really specialize too much. And the way that people typically build them is really stats-heavy, right? And that doesn't counter the Phantom Lancer. Like, I feel like if the Phantom Lancer just gets really tanky, beefs up, then the Gyrocopter's probably invested in that point at, like, phase boots, maybe a drums. That seems to be popular. S and Y is, like, the build that Envy likes to do. If you go for a BKB, then you've already got 3 items that just don't really add any value to your hero, especially against the Phantom Lancer. And if you go all in against the Phantom Lancer, then you're still not respecting the rest of the heroes. So I feel like Phantom Lancer is just more stable of a pick, and it's more stable of a carry than the Gyrocopter. Like, you can have so many comeback potential for that hero because of the illusions. Like, the Phantom Lance is always really great. The Doppelganger means that you're pretty much self-sufficient. Like, it's really hard to catch him out.
It's also very good against the rocket generally. Like, you can doppelganger once the rocket comes onto you. When you see the flying rocket, you can dodge it. Other than that, I think the further you progress in the game, what used to happen also in TI qualifiers is that Phantom Lancer chose to go for lifesteal, and then he could actually just man up. And Gyrocopter was not having a chance in that one-on-one.
So do you guys feel that the Gyrocopter was a team-specific ban? As Virtus.Pro did run him, I believe, 7 times within the last 50 games, and I think Illidan has like a 5-2 win rate on him.
Oh yeah, that's one of Illidan's, I would say, one of his better heroes.
Yeah.
I mean, Gyrocopter generally, I would say, is just it's always a safe carry. To me, it's a hero you can pick first, you can pick last, and you are still comfortable in running him. He always offers a lot of AoE damage, magically as well as physically, so it's never a bad pick, but it for sure doesn't guarantee you anything on a carry role either.
We got to talk about this draft. We have
Yes.
Secret, Warlock, and Kunkka. Guys, what's going on here? Is Kunkka is not... Is Kunkka being run as a core or a support, and is Warlock basically the opposite? Like, one of them is a core, one of them is support, right?
I would say more likely Kunkka's core. Maybe you try and deal with the Queen of Pain. Especially if they want to play very aggressively with Warlock and Dazzle.
I've seen earlier some practice on the side of Secret where they put the Warlock in towards the mid lane, and in that sense you would have a Kunkka as a support. I can see that work, but at the same time, in the past I think S4 was the Kunkka player. Like he played quite some Kunkka, so I would not be too surprised having the Kunkka as a mid position as well.
And I mean, the Warlock does really well against the like the Warlock is one of the few heroes who can really battle it out with the Queen of Pain and win that matchup, right? The Kunkka would suffer a little bit more in harassment, but you can still do well as a Kunkka, right? In that 1v1.
Actually, the further I think about that matchup, Kunkka has no chance.
Yeah,
he
straight
gets
one-on-one,
destroyed by
Quap will destroy him. But I think Kunkka has a lot of kill potential on the Queen of Pain with
Yeah.
rotation, which is pretty rare for a melee hero.
You don't really have a rotation potential, though, because
Yeah.
if you play a Warlock as a support, you're going to be a little bit too passive. Whereas if you run the Kunkka as a support, you can just get like level 3, get a level of X in the 2 in Torrent, and you probably have a way to kill the Queen of Pain. Whereas I feel like if you run him in the mid lane, he gets completely zoned out by the Queen of Pain. Like, who's going to gank from him? The Sand King's probably going to be off lane, right? So if a Dazzle or Warlock rotate in, I don't think it does anything.
It's actually very true with the X-Mark in terms of countering the Queen of Pain. Queen of Pain, I guess one answer always to X-Mark is going to be an Eos, but it's one of those items you really want to get Eos on a Queen of Pain.
Not against a PL, I think.
It's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, with good old Illidan Slark.
Yeah, there's another signature hero for Illidan for sure. This is going to be, I mean, you have a lot of sustain on the side of Team Secret between the potential heal, the Warlock, not as big of a factor as, say, the Dazzle. You've got an innate amount of tankiness on the Kunkka, as well as, somewhat in the Phantom Lancer. I feel like the Slark is good versus this lineup, except for the Phantom Lancer, just because he's a tough hero to deal with someone who's so single-target right-click focused.
So now after seeing the drafts, what would the predictions be? Because I strongly believe in Virtus.Pro's lineup. I think they really pick comfort heroes for themselves. So I can see that working out very well. What are your thoughts?
Still Secret. I think that they have a lot of different ways to deal with the Slark. Like, the Warlock is a really good way. You just drop the people's elbow on him, and he can't really do anything. You've got the Sand King as a follow-up as well. Like, Sand King is one of the best heroes, I feel, against the Slark, right? Because it doesn't really matter if he disappears. You have so much AoE ability that it doesn't really do anything. For me personally, it's this mid matchup. Like, how does S4 do against the Queen of Pain? Like, if a Warlock has a really good start, he gets the Aghanims in a Refresher at a decent time, then I think that Secret rolls over, like, just completely rolls over VP. But if the Queen of Pain gets some rotations, they're able to pressure S4 out of the lane, and they're able to abuse the offlaner, then I think things become a little bit tricky. And it actually looks like it's going to be a non-support Kunkka. This looks like a Zai offlane Kunkka, which I've not seen, and to my knowledge as a caster.
I have seen this once in a scrim. I don't really want to talk about where I saw it because it wasn't this team. But offlane Kunkka, pick up boots first. You're naturally tanky. You also have the potential to maybe go against the support, but I really didn't feel it here. I actually felt like the offlane Sand King was better, simply because it gives you a lot of mid-game power and can potentially counter out the Queen of Pain if she does do okay in the laning phase. You still have the Sand King to fall back on with the Blink Epicenter on her.
Yeah, I actually kind of think that the Kunkka isn't tanky. Like, he's got 1 armor and only 600 HP with 4 tangos. I feel like he's going to struggle against the offensive potential of just the Slark and the Rubik alone, and then the Earthshaker can just sit mid.
I agree. Usually I would say it's a decision made by who's more comfortable on what hero, and if you pick the Kunkka, to me it's just one of those heroes. You pick Kunkka because you practice to run it on that offlane. Like, if that's what Secret choose to do, and then on the side of, I mean, where Sand King can be played by either or. Sai plays a good Sand King. He has previously played the Sand King on the offlane, but I believe that this is just how they ran that strat before, and that's why they choose to run it this way.
Ben?
Seems like a pretty YOLO draft. Kind of like the last one. It's like THC,
Yeah.
Bloodseeker. It's like whatever. But I mean, Secret made it work, and I have complete faith in them this game too.
All right, let's see who's coming out on top in this last game here in the winner bracket final. Secret going up against VP, and if you want to see all those teams in action over in Frankfurt for the ESL 1 Frankfurt event in the stadium, head over to ESL1.com and secure yourself your tickets. They will be happening on the weekend, so make sure to do so. And guys, let's head into the game and let's head into the action.
That's right, our final match of the day, Blitz. Virtus.Pro and Team Secrets. A lot of people expecting to see Team Secret in the finals, but I'm sure there's a lot more question marks about VP and whether or not they would make it this far. God, already playing very aggressive against S4 and should be able to pick up this
S4.
kill as the Shadow Word against him meant that he didn't have any kind of heal to be able to save himself. First blood going to God, and I think that already answers a question that you had, Blitz. How well is our Queen of Pain going to be able to do in this middle lane? Well, God's already rocking it.
It's just the power of the Queen of Pain to get offensive, and S4 opted to use the Shadow Word instead of to heal himself. He used it offensively,
Yep.
and I think that's a mistake because G is going to punish him for that every single time. Like, the right-click damage isn't enough to dissuade him from blinking on top of your hill and going on you, and that's a really quick first blood, and more importantly than that, Cap, is it's a solo first blood, and at that bottom lane, this is what I was talking about. It's just not feasible for the Kunkka to be able to survive in this lane, and the problem right now, too, is that he's gone for the X marks the spot, so he's not going to be able to torrent to farm or anything like that, and he probably can't go to the jungle, and so that's 2 lanes already down the hole right now for Secret.
Yeah, you can see I'm waiting for FNG to make another rotation with that Fissure and help out the Queen of Pain even further. Obviously, that played a pretty large factor in them being able to pick up that first blood. Meanwhile, DK Phobos is doing, well, quite well. He's already picked up his level 2, should be able to get probably 3 from this wave and maybe soaking up some of the neutrals potentially. Meanwhile, Zai is being routinely zoned down, still hasn't picked up his level 2. It seems like Lil is just enough by himself to keep Zai away. his really only play is to try and utilize that X marks his spot to be able to get close enough to pick up his level 2, and then once he has Torrent, then he has maybe some rotational capabilities, or can maybe even battle up against the support a bit better, but has to have that level 2 first. S4 caught out. What a beautiful Fisher from FNG. And S4, nowhere to run to, is going to just try and do as much damage to God before he dies, but 3-0 to VP, a very dominant start for Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, and a Magic Wand actually picked up by the Queen of Pain first, and she's gone for this heavy stats build to be able to combat the Warlock's animation and his right-click damage, and it's really paid off for him, and they've been able to get aggressive on him twice. And in this bottom lane, Lil already has boots, so it's really easy for him to zone out the Kunkka by himself. Typically, the reason why you go offlane Kunkka the boots first, I think, is because you can trade hits with a support that doesn't have boots, and you'll be okay, but now that Lil has it, he can just kind of zone and kite him around, and Zai's only level 2, and meanwhile at top, DK Phobos already has boots. He's level 3. He's got the Stout Shield and the Ring of Protection, and so his Tranquil boots will come at a really reasonable time. But at bottom lane, the thing is that a Centaur, if he was doing poorly at that top lane, he could switch lanes, go to the jungle. Like, he's got options. But with the Kunkka level 1 with only level 1 X, like, where does he go from here? Your mid lane's already lost. There's not a whole lot that you can do to gank the Queen of Pain at this point.
Yeah, the strategy that I saw when I saw the offlane Kunkka was you picked X marks on yourself at level 1, because the change up to X marks' spot now being 8 seconds at level 1. On allies, including yourself, you just use it on yourself, you run in, be able to pick up some experience, and essentially because they don't have enough disables to stop you, you're just able to X marks the spot back. Even if you do take some harassment, it's kind of almost guaranteed experience. Unfortunately,
running for Kuroki right now.
Yeah, the Haste Rune being picked up. Kuro is level 3 plus a rather large stack, but they won't be able to clear through this stack. At least not yet anyway. Zai is actually sitting on the side here, potentially hoping to be able to catch out somebody, but obviously God still operating that Haste Rune. Fisher block. Not getting S4, he backs himself away, so unfortunately rotation's not working out for VP, but it still got some value out of it, as Lil was able to take the full experience while God was away.
Yeah, and there is a level 2 now on Zai, and Crow is going to deward that, so that's a pretty significant jungle stack for him, and he is level 3, and so they do have to be careful, because if Crow can get a blink at a decent time, then there will be some danger there for them, as she is getting harassed out in this mid lane a little bit, but Illidan in this bottom lane just continues to free farm, and at top, the Centaur's doing just fine.
FNG going for the double enchant totem hit. Unfortunately, the Shallow Grave will be able to keep him alive, and then the Shadow Wave just popping FNG, thinking he can get aggressive, but unfortunately for them, they did have this vision of the pretty standard Rune Ward spot. I believe that spotted him out making the rotation. If not, Arteezy just moving over at the right time anyway.
Yeah, and a good rotation by Arteezy to help out his support, and a pretty free kill for FNG. And so Secret are now on the board, but the laning phase is still really stable right now for VP, as in this mid lane, the issue with the Warlock is that you kind of have to snowball the lane, right? Like, you can't just go 1-for-1 like you can to Storm against an Alchemist. And in this mid lane, S4 is the target.
Oh, the Torrent's going to be able to come in. They might be able to turn around on God. He lets loose the ultimate. S4! He walked forward, dodges that one. The X-Ray's God right back. Oh, 1-for-1. FNG looking for more. He does have the Enchant Totem plus Aftershock, but couldn't get in range or stay in range of Zai to be able to hit some more. Plus, Zai had enough HP, it looked like, but he's got to be careful here. FNG paired up with the potential DK Phobos, because he'd easily take him out.
Yeah, and that was so unfortunate for G. He just misses the angle, misses the Warlock with that, and that should have been a pretty clean kill, and maybe he would have gone out as a result, but misses, and S4 is able to right-click him down, and that's pretty significant for your offlane Kunkka, who hasn't had a lot going for him. Like, he gets the solo experience from that, he picks up his level 4 and Arcane Boots as a result, but S4 is the target mid again, but he should be fine with 3 levels. No, the right-click from from Lil with the DD rune, and Zai.
Yeah, he might even go for Zai here. He's still got the telekinesis. Sure enough, pulls him back into the Aftershock Enchant Totem hit. And now, click, there it is. Queen of Pain grabs it. 6-2. God is 2-1-3 already. Unfortunately, I thought that perhaps that Kunkka being able to get his level 4, the level 2X, plus the extra damage on Torrent, could mean that they could potentially have some rotations that actually are more effective than before, but it seems like VP just bring one too many heroes to that middle fight, with Lil having that double damage rune being the added factor.
Yeah, and Illidan continues to free farm in this bottom lane with 51 CS, is the top of the net. Just 2 ahead of Arteezy right now, but probably the more troubling thing right now for Secret is that the Queen of Pain is doing so well against that Warlock mid. And it's not the worst thing in the world, though, because the Warlock mid, what is he known for? It's just get the rocks off if you can. Getting a Midas, getting the Aghanim Scepter is just bonus on top of that. You do kind of want him to have a little bit more levels than this, as they are stacking behind him right now. This is 4 heroes in this mid lane right now.
Yeah, you can't really forget that Secret do have Kuro, who's farming up the jungle. They basically have kind of a 4th core in a way, because Kuro's spending so much time farming up the jungle, that he might be able to make up for the laning phase loss of the Warlock, in the fact that he'll be able to come in with a pretty fast Blink Dagger, a high amount of levels, basically more farm than anybody on the VP side can really match, at least when it comes to supports.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an impact he's going to have right now. He is going to, instead of farming out the rest of his Blink Dagger, he's going to go for rotations, and this is another 4-man rotation, essentially. There's 4 heroes in this top lane. They have to get a kill because they waited for almost over a minute in that mid lane to be able to catch that Queen of Pain out. But she just decided to play passively in this top lane. They have to get something because this is a smoke, and the Sand King isn't stacking or farming, and you're completely conceding that bottom lane.
Yep, he now gets spotted out as the smoke fades and the range creep that was pulled over. Puppey, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. I believe he was the one who actually pulled the camp over to that side. And if he just wanted the creep wave to be able to push into the tower for that easier gank, perhaps, but DK Phobos just sat very far back. Now he's taking a lot of harassment here from RTZ. There is the block. They're going to force RTZ to use the doppelganger over to the side. FNG trying to block him out, but RTZ does manage to sneak himself away. FNG, though, such successful rotations on this Earthshaker that he's managed to pick up. Oh, middle lane, S4 dropping quite low, drops the golems. There goes Guild Print from God, and it will be a trade-off, but successful for God in that he managed to pick up the experience for that kill.
Yeah, and more importantly than that, it is the experience, and it's the fact that you waste the rock, because you're not going to be able to get any momentum off of this, and the laning phase becomes even harder for the Warlock because he can't really contest bottom or the mid lane anymore. Because before, what was holding back the Queen of Pain from just blinking aggressively and going on him was either the threat of heroes being there or that Warlock rock. But now that he doesn't have it up, and right now, I mean, S4 is level 6 as a mid laner at 10 minutes into the game. How often do you see this? He's almost 3 full levels behind the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, it's not looking good for him whatsoever. How's Kuro doing? Obviously, we saw him waste a lot of time there with that smoke. He will be able to have the Blink Dagger quite soon. And maybe his first epicenter can be successful in picking up, I guess, the Queen of Pain. I mean, normally, you're looking at this laning phase setup as Secret's position. I think you're thinking, okay, the Warlock will do well against the Queen of Pain. That'll kind of keep her down at least a little bit, and then the Sand King can pick up that Blink Dagger and potentially rotate to shut down the Slark. But it seems like at this point, he won't have enough to shut down Slark, and instead is going to have to focus on God. Otherwise, God just gets completely out of control, which means Illidan should always be able to free farm.
Yeah, and how often do we see S4 at 1 and 5 at 10 minutes into the game? But, I mean, his fate might change here as the Sand King does pick up his Blink Dagger, and I could potentially see him using that ultimate to set up on G, and this could be what S4 needs to kind of bring himself back into this lane. A little bit of free farm time is both heroes are sitting behind mid. Kuro's waiting for his Blink Dagger right now, and he should get it here in a second, and G, unfortunately for them, is the timing is going to work out so that...
Yep, here comes the jump already. Burrow Strike, Torrent goes off just in time. The epicenter, the added damage to make sure that God definitely dies there. But you could see the combination there with Kunkka and Kuro joining forces. It's pretty much impossible for the Queen of Pain to get away. Puppey, though, that's impossible to get away from. He gets caught trying to farm up the jungle there with a pull. DK Phobos comes over with the help of FNG, double stuns, and the burst damage to take out the Dazzle.
FNG's just been such a monster this game. He's been able to rotate to so many different lanes. He did feed that unfortunate kill, but he's won the mid lane pretty heavily for G. He goes top, makes things even easier for DK Phobos. That's twice now that he's won up there. It finally works, and they are able to get the Dazzle kill. And a pretty significant one is that's just going to help him get closer and closer to that Blink Dagger. He's got 1,100 gold.
I got to ask you, Blitz. Do you use this stolen epicenter that Lil has to farm up creeps? Because I'm not sure how else you're really going to be able to utilize this epicenter as a Rubik this early on without any mobility or any stat items.
I think the play is for the Earthshaker to fissure, you to lift, and then, I don't know. It's going to be hard, but you might as well steal it. Like, there's no reason not to. Like, he saw the opportunity. It's a good ability to have, if anything, just to keep Secret from playing aggressive, but Talking about that, here's another 3-man smoke gang for them as
Again,
the initiation comes and the rock should follow as well.
yep, there's just no way for God to get away from this one. I mean, just the simple burrow strike into X is tough enough as a Queen of Pain, but you throw everything else like Golem and the added damage from the Torrent as well, and there's just no options. But Illidan is going to come in, trying to upset this one as S4 is the first target, lands the pounce, the follow-up here. Epicenter comes in from Lil. He actually gets some damage onto Kuro. Might just be able to finish him off as Kuro's stunned up. The stolen burrow strike from Lil keeps him in place even further. Kuro will end up going down to the stomp. Meanwhile, Puppey forced back there from FNG. They get the X marks the spot on him, but Secret don't have the power to be able to pursue and will be forced away. DK Phobos just making sure that the rest of Secret do back themselves up, and Virtus.Pro may have the opportunity to put some pressure on this tier 1 tower. Either way, that was a fight that doesn't really go the way of Secret. They got the pick off on the Queen of Pain, but they lose the Sand King and perhaps could lose more. Sure enough, there goes the Fisher. Zai's going to be going down here. Is Illidan committing quite heavily for him? Nice ultimate from God, which also snags Puppey on the side. The missed Centaur hoof may just mean the Puppey gets away. FNG having another Fisher up, and in 2 more seconds, just RTZ coming in. Actually might be able to take on both as the burrow strike comes in. Nice Fisher blocking out RTZ. Doesn't have the doppelganger to be able to secure the extra kill on Illidan, but does get one. God doesn't have his ultimate, but it's going to try and fight RTZ anyway. FNG, another 4 seconds until that Fisher. RTZ is low, but wants to try and pursue out FNG anyway. The Fisher comes out. The added bit of dot damage won't be enough thanks to the Shadow Word. The TP out from FNG is there, and in the end, another trade-off. The Sand King goes down, but so does the Centaur.
Yeah, a good trade for VP because that was a 3-man rotation, and then everybody just kind of like continues to fight around. The Slark picks up a kill, and he's got a Shadow Blade right now at 14 minutes into the game, and he's just looking to hunt. And the Sentry Ward will spot him out, though, as pings go on top of him, and Illidan knows that there is a Sentry and a Ward up there, and so that'll be a pretty big commitment by VP. They should be able to deward that.
S4 juking around there. Finn's been spotted out by Illidan. Probably would have died, but S4 just so susceptible to the Slark at this point in time. It seems like Secret have no other choice, and this is rather unfortunate, but they have no other choice than to group up. I would say like Phantom Lancer is the only person who can farm. Everyone else has to kind of be grouped up on the Warlock. Otherwise, it's just going to be easy pickings for Illidan against the Warlock, the Dazzle. Maybe he can force out even the Kunkka potentially. I mean, there's plenty of ample opportunities for Illidan to be very aggressive when he wants.
Yeah, especially when they take control of the jungle, and if they lose these 2 wards at the same time, I think this is going to be really difficult for Secret to be able to take back control of their jungle, and this should just mean Illidan going around the map, more or less doing whatever he wants, but this mid tower does still stand for Secret, and it looks like it's the next target for VP as they are grouped up. I think Secret might want to fight this. Like, they've got the rock up, they've got the epicenter plus the ultimate off. I think this is maybe a play. Go for the glyph here.
Yeah, well, he gets Illidan to use that Dark Pact, but it's still going to be the tier 1 tower going down. They don't have the power to rotate in and save it. In fact, RTZ was instead trying to take the tier 1 tower at top, but the 2 supports from VP quick to stop that one and farm up the incoming creep wave.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they didn't continue to commit. They got out of there, and Illidan, I mean, I think they saw the smoke. Yeah, they have a ward right there, and this is so unfortunate for Secret.
Yeah, they may still be able to get Puppey. He's forced into the shallow grave. Illidan quickly getting himself away because he knows that smoke did happen. So he's not going to try and get close or overcommit for too long. Now, the rest of Secret are heading their way up to top, but FNG, obviously, he has the right idea there. Fisher block just to make sure that Lil is able to get out successfully. And man, both these supports are actually pretty damn farmed. They've got a Bracer on Lil plus a whole entire Arcane Boots as a hard 5. Meanwhile, FNG is working towards that Blink Dagger with the Arcane Boots already picked up.
Yeah, that was such an unfortunate timing for them to go for the smoke. The ward just, the lip of it manages to spot them, and more map control by VP as this Shadowblade Slark is doing a really good job of continuing to keep up in farm, though, as he still leads the net worth chart, and the Queen of Pain is at 3rd, and I'm a little bit concerned right now for S4 because the Warlock typically will see him win the laning phase, and then you kind of have to snowball from there.
FNG! He had the right idea. He knew what was going on. He was picking it out. He was also picking up half the experience there for those neutrals. He thought he was going to be able to snag Kuro, but Kuro just a little bit too fast on that Blink Dagger. If only he hadn't tried to preemptively throw out that Fisher, maybe he could have caught him. Instead, tried to cancel that Fisher animation, put the Echo Stomp, but doesn't end up happening. Kuro blinks away to safety.
Yeah, G continuing to aggressively farm this mid lane, but I think both heroes are going to come in mid. And I mean, G, he's been conditioned. Like, he knows what happens when he sees any hero on the map.
Yeah.
They're going to throw ultimates down for him. And at top,
Yep.
Puppey's going to be the target.
Puppey will be run down here by the Stampede. Gets off the Shallow Grave, but is it going to be enough? Doesn't look like we have any TPs from Secret, so yeah, Puppey's very, very much dead. They've given up on him. Instead, they stick around that middle lane.
So G's going to go for the Orchid right now. I think it's the right item to get. I think that S4 still goes for a Hand of Midas. What do you think? Like, I feel like he has to catch up. Hand of Midas is this weird item where if you're behind, it'll catch you up. If you're ahead, it'll get you further ahead.
It's almost like there's this medium ground where you can't go Midas. Like, if you're ahead, but not that far ahead, right? Or you're only a little behind and have a chance to be able to still contest fights by building stat items, you can actually go in. But when you're really far ahead, you're really far behind, you kind of need to go Midas. So I would agree with you. I believe Midas is S4's best choice, especially since he needs levels really badly, too. RTC potentially caught out here in this bottom lane. Never mind, there goes the Shallow Grave. He does have Doppelganger up in 3 seconds. The rest of Virtus.Pro know to back themselves up because here comes the rest of Secret. Burrow Strike to lead, Torrent to follow up, and Phobos is very much dead. Illidan, he's just got to get out of here, it looks like, as the rest of Secret. Oh, they're going to be able to grab more. Lil snagged by the X marks the spot. He's trying to turn around. Nice steal the Ghost Ship. Will be able to throw it out. Kuro comes in for the side, hoping to be able to catch Illidan. Burrow Strike catches him out. Zai now turns to fight. Doesn't have any additional damage, though, and Illidan will try and hide himself in the trees, pounce out, and get himself to safety. Oh, an ultimate comes out from God. There goes one. Illidan hit by that Torn. He's bounced back from that one. Kuro, if only stuck around, might be able to get Illidan anyway. Yes, the Golem finishes them off before another pounce is available. And Secret get one hell of a fight as they start with 1 pickoff, turns to 2, and then grabs 3 and 4 more. VP lose 4 and only FNG to survive.
Yeah, and a fantastic fight for Secret as they needed that to turn things around as VP weren't in the best position to get into a fight, and FNG might actually go down here too.
That is beautiful. I love the fact that Kuro made the blink and the right click, especially with the weave so heavily ticking onto FNG. It was that added bit of damage to ensure the kill, then interrupting that enchant totem with the Burrow Strike. Very well played by Kuro.
And that's a 5th hero to go down for VP, a full team wipe, and this bottom tower is going to go down. VP, they did have the superior laning phase, but they have to respect the team fight of Secret. Like, Kuro having that Blink Dagger, they always place down the sentries so they know where Illidan is, and it gives Kuro more mobility because he knows there's no sentries around. He can play around in the Sandstorm. Secret just outworking VP right now.
They still have quite the lead on the Phantom Lancer as well, sitting at 9k. Arteezy just casually farming away, has himself drums as well as that early diffusal blade. So he is actually a big factor in these fights as well, potentially. I mean, if they don't get an initiation on him, that diffusal blade is more than enough damage to mop up several heroes of VP.
Yeah, and all of a sudden the Slark is 1k behind in net worth. That Shadow Blade, I thought it was going to be the pickup that it would allow them to get complete map control, but so far we've seen it be relatively underwhelming because Secret are prepared with sentries every single time, and the amount of team fight they have is just a little bit too strong for VP as S4 all of a sudden halfway to his Aghanim Scepter with that Midas.
Now, do you think because of the fact that you have a lot of team fight potential on Secret, they're going to be grouped up, do you think that maybe a Blink Dagger, basically a cheaper catch-out item that would allow you to start rotating into the Scotty faster, which is really what Slark needs to be a team fight carry, essentially? I mean, before that, he's kind of all about pickoffs, and Secret don't seem to, like, it's just their lineup, right? In that they're willing to group up around that Warlock.
I think the issue with going for the Shadow Blade is that you have to look at Secret's lineup and know that they want to get into 5-man fights, and they're probably going to stick together as often as they can.
Yeah.
And so going for that Shadow Blade, it's more just you get one hit off, and then you're in the center of the fight. I think going for more of a stats build, like even something like a Drums into an SNY, maybe would have been a little bit more stable as Kuro's just kind of blinking in mid to mess with that Slark and buy time as the Roshan attempt right now is going on for Secret, and they should have enough damage to do this with the Medallion of Courage and 4 Earn Charges. Arteezy's just going to be healed up as Secret right now.
I mean, Puppey's been caught out 2 different times here, but he was still able to farm up a lot. I mean, he's got Earn Medallion plus a Belt of Strength on a supported 22 minutes in, and he hasn't even picked up, he's only grabbed one of the last hits on the kills. That had to have been just him doing a really good job farming through Pulse, right?
Oh yeah, he's done a really good job the entire time. He's managed to keep himself alive a decent amount as well, and Sai actually picks up a mech, and so the Death Ball becomes even stronger right now for Secret. Is they've got the Aegis, they've got the mech, they don't have the Aghanim Scepter, but I don't think that you have to wait for this. I think now is the time to go for the Tier 1 tower at bare minimum, and from here, Secret
This
starting
is
to pick up a
really
lead.
This is really well Virtus.Pro have to split push a lot, right? The Queen of Pain, one side, the Slark on the other. You've got two very mobile heroes that are going to be, well, not the Queen of Pain so much. I mean, honestly, she's quite easy to catch out with the Burrow Strike, Blink, and the Kunkka X marks the spot. So maybe it's just the Slark who's able to split push purely off the fact that you have Dark Pact. And if you get that off at the right time, you can survive, perhaps.
I kind of don't like G's build this game. I know going for the Orchid is pretty stable, but I feel like it's going to be one of those items where you're going to be fighting against a team that's going to be 5-manning pretty heavily. And so what are you really going to use it for, right? Like you can maybe use it for the Dazzle, but Puppey's probably going to be far enough behind that it won't make too much of an impact. And there's enough counter-initiate from Team Secret right now that'll ruin his life, right? Like in this bottom lane.
Just like this, Burrow Strike, Torrent holding in. The Ghost Ship's going to come in as well. Even if he does get away, well, he actually does. He's fine. The X marks the spot, already pulled back, and now Kuro is going to feel the Orchid as Lil coming in does have the extra bit of zapping damage. No, the Torrent. Oh, DK Phobos comes in with the Centaur Stomp to stop that TP out. And we'll be able to get that pick off. I really thought God was dead there. I didn't see what happened with the X marks the spot, but they did throw it on God, right?
I actually think they thought the damage from the Torrent boat would be enough to kill him. And so they opt not to use the X marks the spot, and I think that's a mistake as God's team does rotate in. They are able to turn that around. And the problem right now for them is, even though that happened, Arteezy just continues to farm, and he's picked up quite a bit of a lead in terms of net worth, and this might be Lil going down as he is trying his best to get out, and he's being chased by Arteezy, but
yeah, he got the purge onto Lil, but of course that ultimate from the Centaur overriding that one. Now secondary purge, and Lil will end up falling now. He forced out the extra charge at the very least. Meanwhile, we do have Illidan, who's going to try and go for a kill here on Design. The Orchid being placed on him. They're going to try and burst him down, but there's just too many heals. Illidan, I like that choice of quick escape there. I think he's making some good decisions. Unfortunately, X still snags him, and that's one disable you cannot get rid of. He's going to be able to pounce to the side and might still get out. Oh! My God, the Centaur stomp there, neutral, and Illidan able to get himself away to the trees. Very fortunate to be alive.
All right, so if that Centaur 4-man stomp onto them and the Rock doesn't happen, they probably pick up that kill, right?
Yep.
The Rock is committed, though, by Secret, and so this is going to mean a mid-push, but so unfortunate for them as they could have easily killed Illidan there.
Well, now they're going to have a tougher time killing Illidan. The Illidan's still problem is damage. And we saw him trying to go onto one hero like that, and they had a decent amount, but it still didn't even come close thanks to the sustain. Now, oh, DK Phobos, 3-man Centaur stop with a Fisher over the top, and FNG with the blink. 2 already out, 3 goes down. Arteezy's just hoping to pick up whatever he can, but FNG's already waiting. Now he's got to try and make it his escape. Doppelganger up to the side. Illidan looking to be able to snag him here, slowed down, gets a little bit of Dark Pact damage, and the pounce will miss. Doppelganger away to the side. Arteezy up on the cliff. Oh no, now he's trapped for 5 seconds as he will go down. The Aegis is here. Can he actually get away? Doppelganger's going to be up, but they're surrounding Arteezy entirely to get the instant silence out from the Orchid, as well as a Fisher stun. And Secret, now it's their turn to practically be wiped, as only Zai is kept alive.
Yeah, and Secret, they thought with the Aegis they were pretty much just going to roll on, but DK Phobos had other plans. He lands pretty much a Ravage on 3 heroes, and FNG with that follow-up, the first time he reveals that Blink Dagger, and he gets a monster dunk off as VP managed to kind of turn things around as the net worth actually ticks in their favor, and the experience does the same. And VP with a pretty glorious fight as a 10-second BKB wasn't even used by the Slark, and everything kind of going the way of VP now. And this just kind of feels like 2 really evenly matched teams where one are just kind of struggling to get the advantage over the other.
Yeah, I think these last 2 fights, so the pickoff on the Sand King allowed DK Phobos to finish up his Vanguard, and now that last fight has DK Phobos almost picking up the Crimson Guard. I would say this is one of those items in Dota that is incredibly important when it comes to timing. When you get that item can mean all the change in the world. Puppey's actually going to be gone on here by Illidan. Shellgrave goes down on the side. Here comes the epicenter. BKB's already blown by Illidan. That epicenter's going to do hardly any damage whatsoever, but the problem is Illidan still may not have enough damage. The heals go out, and Puppey will be able to survive. Now it's a quest to be able to stay alive here as Illidan's forced into the ultimate. Stunned up Burrow Strike, trying to look for the pounce away. Two-man stomp, and they are turned to go on RTZ, but never mind. That's just too much. He's too tanky with the drums. X marks the spot, goes out, but it's on the wrong one. Phobos still slowed down,
S4
farther
though
down.
is isolated out. He has the rock. He gets graved at the last second.
He will be able to throw out the rock right onto Illidan with the Aghanims upgrade, trying to finish off Illidan right away. Gets off a really good grade, but it's still not enough. Zai is going to be right down by God. They also on the side managed to finish off another one. Arteezy being gone on. Puppey is going to go down to God. So that's actually another 4. Somehow Vici Gaming managed to secure 4 and might just get a 5th here. As Arteezy still being run out by DK Phobos to turn around, but the Fisher actually gets the kill. Earthshaker, FNG, right place, right time, and Virtus.Pro somehow survived through all of that. I thought with S4 being able to get out the golems, they'd be able to pick up a couple kills at the very least, but it turns out no kills whatsoever, and they even feed away one of them.
The thing is, they didn't really have a damage source. They used the epicenter on that mid lane to try to isolate out that Slark, but he just pops his BKB, has enough teamfight potential at that point. Once he knows that that epicenter is down, he's completely content to pretty much do whatever he wants. He's able to just kind of slink around the map, and at the same time, the BKB from the Queen of Pain coming out at the perfect time. Like you saw G pops the BKB, what can Secret do?
Yeah.
He gets the Orchid off, is able to get into the center of the fight at that point. Not enough damage coming out from Secret as another 5-man wipe for Virtus.Pro is the gold lead. Now it's above 4,000. The experience is going even crazier than that as it almost climbs to 8K. As VP, that's back-to-back 5-man team wipes.
And now Illidan has taken a lot of profit out of that BKB. I mean, Shadowblade, BKB, these are items that can potentially pay off big time, but may also stall up your late game quite heavily, right? It basically, you're lacking a really strong damage source. The Shadowblade gives you some stats, the BKB gives you some stats, but it's all about trying to get to that Scotty. And with the stat increase that Illidan's about to get, if he can finish up that Scotty, at that point, Slark is ready to go. He is fully entered complete team fight dominance at that point. Like, he's just going to be kind of an unstoppable force just through sheer tankiness and the inevitable stats that he'll steal from everyone. I mean, that last fight, because of his BKB, he couldn't actually finish off anybody, but he stole a lot of stats and was still a huge factor later on into the team fight, even when Dazzle was able to get away.
Yeah, I think the BKB pickups by VP, they opted to go for one snowball item first, and they go for the BKB as mid lane. Illidan going for it again, but
yeah, this time around, there's just too many heroes. He's forced into the Dark Pact early against that Burrow Strike. They're still trying to chase him, but Illidan popping that Shadow Blade, and they do not have the counter vision to see him, so he quickly slips away with that extra movement speed.
yeah, and like I was saying, VP, I think they built correctly. They go for a snowball item, the Orchid first. Now with the BKB, paired with the BKB, I feel now you have some strength sources.
Oh, there goes the dunk. Arteezy just gets popped, joined by Illidan. FNG makes the initiation and gets a critical kill on the carry of Team Secret, who once upon a time had quite the lead over everybody else in net worth, but has now fallen to a very insecure 3rd place.
Yeah, and Arteezy should be frustrated with himself for that death because he was completely isolated out from his team, and he has to respect.
S4, he's trying to go on the Warlock. At the same time, God is able to pop his BKB before he's stunned up. It's going to be forced into a blink away most likely. S4 will end up going down to the right clicks of Illidan. Meanwhile, we have FNG actually coming in trying to stop the TP out, but unsuccessfully. God manages to pick up the kill, or rather force out the rest of Secret. Meanwhile, Illidan gets that kill on the Warlock.
Yeah, and I think that they're playing this fight really well. What they're doing right now is trying to isolate S4 from the rest of his team to force them to go for the single rock. Unable to do so.
They're going to try and pop God right away. He knows he doesn't have a BKB. DK Phobos with the counter initiation, but maybe this is no good. The Fisher gets laid out, stuns up 2. There goes Kuro already. Illidan looking for more. Zai manages to get snagged by that pounce. Will end up going down eventually here. Maybe not. Illidan not wanting to commit to that one. Instead turns to Puppey. The weave goes out before Puppey dies, but Illidan just pops the BKB and turns and fights Arteezy. He says, "You want some, you can have it." Fisher, Centaur Stomp, and they clear through another one. Secret dropping like flies here inside of their own base as Virtus.Pro just continue to steamroll through this one.
Yeah, now they don't have any ultimates up. VP are well aware of this. G's going to respawn at any moment. 30 seconds is any moment for me, I guess. But they are going to be able to take this out without any sort of presences. I mean, Secret, what do they really have? They've got the Warlock ult up, but Zai might go down before anybody's up for this, and
Some
VP are
heals.
splitting up.
They've got the ultimate to drop it. FNG's already made the blink backwards. S4 gonna get popped here as Lil with the stolen golems says what's up. And now trying to go for Puppy. The O-Ship coming in. He's gonna try and stun up Illidan, but he already got off the Dark Pack. No disables there, my friend. Puppy
43,
will be
44.
right clicked down eventually. Illidan still has all the stats from the last fight and is only growing more and more. He tries to go for Kuro, but Burrow strike away, managed to keep him alive. Illidan now with the Shadow Blade pop to the side. They do have the counter ward to see him. Illidan got to play this one quite carefully. Wants to be able to go for the racks.
He's got plus 147 agility right now.
Stolen. Centaur ultimate goes off. Kuro goes down. Now Arteezy locked in as well. Arteezy's down. 60 seconds on the clock, and Virtus.Pro go from taking a fight inside Secret Space, securing a tier 3, taking another fight, and now just potentially ending the game. There goes the 5th one. There it is. Secret are out. GG. And Virtus.Pro managed to take out Secret to take that first place slot in the seeding matches. Well played.
Yeah, and honestly, Illidan at that last fight, I was just counting down how many ticks he was taking. He was up to 160 agility stolen. Like you saw Arteezy get in the middle there and just instantly go down. Like 4 hits is all it took. Well played by Virtus.Pro. Is they're able to just pretty much after that kind of